Welcome back, Undertakers. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make some refried beans. They're easy, unbelievably easy. I couldn't believe it the first time I made it, how simple it was. And they're way better than anything you're going to get in a can. It doesn't require a lot of ingredients. Let me show you what we've got. You're going to need some pinto beans. So I've got a 1 pound bag of those right here. You could cut that in half if you wanted, if you didn't want to make as much, but if you're going to make it, you might as well make a bunch of it. And then besides that, I've got a medium onion. I've got a clove of garlic. I have some cumin, I have some cayenne pepper, which you can leave that out if you don't want it, and some paprika. And now for the big thing, you're going to have to get yourself some lard. Now if you have something against lard, if you don't want to use that, you could use bacon grease if you wanted to. I think the lard is better. It's definitely the most traditional way to make these. So that's all the ingredients there are. And now I'm going to make mine in the Instant Pot today, which you can definitely use if you have a pressure cooker. If you don't, you can still make this the exact same way. You're just going to put your beans onto a pot and you're going to have to simmer them on the stove for probably 2.5 or 3 hours to where they get to the softness that you're going to need to make this, where the Instant Pot's going to do the same thing in 30 minutes. Other than that, every step we're going to do is going to be the same. So take that into account. If you use this or whether you use a pot, it's going to come out the exact same way and they're going to be really good. So to start, the first thing you want to do is go through your beans and make sure that you pick out any gross ones or rocks or anything that might be in there. I find the easiest way to do that is just with a very large bowl. Alright, and this step real easy. Just kind of go through your beans. If you see any broken ones or you see one that just looks nasty or something, or you see something that's not a bean, pull it out. That's it. There's one. That's a bad icky one. So get stuff like that out. Alright, so after a minute or so rummaging around, I found a bunch of broken ones, a couple dark ones, a couple icky ones. So just pull those out and pitch them. Alright, then you just want to transfer them into your stovetop or your Instant Pot, whatever you're using. And then set your bowl aside because you'll need this later. And then to the beans, I'm going to add a couple of quarts of water. So there's our beans now and a couple of quarts of water. And make sure you use plenty of water. Don't be stingy with the water, because at the end, once we start mashing the beans up and putting everything all together, we're going to use this water and add it to the beans to the consistency that you want. So it's always good to have extra water than not enough. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in here. Alright, now our beans are ready to go. So we're just going to put those in here for 30 minutes. That's all there is to that. So while our beans are cooking, whether you got a pressure cooker or you're doing it on the stovetop, now you've got plenty of time. You can dice up your onion and your garlic. You can get all your other ingredients ready. You want a large bowl or another pot to pour the beans into when you're done. You want a nice slotted spoon to be able to scoop the beans out without the water. And then you need something to mash the beans up a little bit. You can use a fork. I've got this potato masher. I've also in the past used one of those handheld stick blenders. Those work fine for this, except those beans get everywhere in that stick blender and that's a lot of work to clean it if you ask me, so I just prefer this. But something to mash them up when you're done. And so now we'll get this chopped up. We'll wait for our beans to finish in here and then we'll put it all together. Alright, our magical fruit is done, so we're going to take the lid off. It's hot, be careful. Alright, now, very carefully, because it's very hot, we're going to transfer the beans and the juice, everything that's in there, into another bowl. Did I mention it's hot? Alright, this goes back in here. And we're going to use the saute button. If you're doing this on the stove, you can either use the same pot you cooked them in, or you could lift these in the same pot and have a separate one heating up ready to go. Whichever way you want to do it. Well, it's ready for us. So whichever way you're going to do it, get a pot going on medium heat, get that ready. Our beans are just going to sit here for a minute. And now we just want to start with a couple good dollops of lard down there. Get that melting. Don't be scared. Alright, now we want to get our onions going. And you know the drill, sauteing onions. You just want to get them soft, maybe a little translucent here. It won't take long. Alright, it's been a few minutes. Our onions are starting to get a little color to them. They're softening them up. So now we want to get our garlic down in there. And at the same time as our garlic's going to go in, we're going to put in a little bit of our cumin. And that's probably let's call that a couple tablespoons if I had to guess. Maybe do a tablespoon of paprika in there. And optional if you want, a little shake of cayenne in there, that's good for you. Alright, the onions have been in here 5 or 6 minutes, the garlic and the spices about a minute, so now we're ready to transfer our beans. The only other spices we have left to do would be just to season with salt once we get close to the end. We're not quite there yet. Now we're going to transfer the beans in here without the water, without the liquid. We're just going to transfer the beans. Alright, so there's all our beans in there. Now I'm going to start off with a little bit of liquid, just enough to kind of get these going here. And I'm just going to use a ladle here. Alright, now comes your masher. Now, here's where you get to make all your other decisions. How many whole beans do you want, and how thick do you want this? So obviously, the more whole beans you want, the less mashing you're going to do. And the thicker you want them, the less water you're going to add. Now, I like mine somewhere, I don't mind some whole beans in mine. I mean, I don't like them like super smooth. I like them a little chunky, but I don't like a whole lot of whole beans in there. And the thickness, that can depend. You know, if I'm making this and I'm going to use it inside a burrito, you know, I don't want real runny beans in my burrito. I want it to be a little thicker. And another piece of advice I'll tell you is when you're doing these, if you get to the consistency that you like, so say you like it just like this, add more water. Because as this sits, it's going to absorb that water. And if if dinner's ready, by the time you get everything plated up and you start scooping these out, they're going to be a lot drier than they are right now. So add more water than you think you want, and you'll be okay. Alright, now when you think you're close to where you like it, don't forget to give it a little taste. That we can adjust for salt. Alright, so right there is about good for me. I'm not putting these in a burrito, I'm going to use these as a side dish. And like I say, they look maybe a little runny to you, but as you turn the heat off, once these sit for a minute, they're really going to absorb that water and they're going to thicken up on you. So make it a little bit more liquidy than you want. So there you go, homemade refried beans. Make them, they're really good. And you saw there's not much to it, it's pretty easy. Whether you have a pressure cooker or you make it on the stove top, it's pretty simple. The beans, yeah, they take a little while to cook, but then after that, everything comes together pretty easy. You get to decide how chunky or smooth you want them, how liquidy or how firm that you want them. And there's lots of stuff you can do with refried beans. I know they're not much to look at, but they sure taste good. And once you make them, then after that you can play around with them, put in all kinds of stuff, mix them up the way you want them. But there you go. Easy, simple, not to mention they were cheap. So I encourage you to give these a try next time you want some refried beans. They're easy to do. I know you can do it. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.